Sonic Dream Team on Apple Arcade is one of the best 3D Sonic games that you haven't played, probably. Look, a lot of Sonic games have come out within the last 2 years, and it's actually been a pretty interesting experience having this much Sonic back to back. Leading up to Sonic Frontiers in 2021, we had Sonic Colors Ultimate. Origins came out in 2022, and then of course ending off with Sonic Frontiers. And then 2023 we got Amy adding to Sonic Origins, and then that led up to Sonic Superstars, as well as Sonic Frontiers Update 3. And then now we got the announcement a month ago for Sonic Dream Team. And now that Sonic Dream Team is out. There's been so much Sonic content lately, and I think the quality of all of the content that is released has been varying quite a bit. And I'm gonna be honest, out of all of those releases, I think Sonic Dream Team is contender for the top 2 releases. Within the last 2 years, of course. So, how exactly is Sonic Dream Team one of the best Sonic games to release in recent years, despite being a mobile game? It may sound like I'm talking a big game, but there's gonna be some perspectives to look at and take in and understand. But before we hop into that, yo, hold up. Did you know that 70% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel? A lot of you guys keep on returning to these videos, so those of you who keep coming back, why not hit the subscribe button? And if you're new here and you end up enjoying this video, I hope that makes you want to subscribe. Thanks, guys. So Sonic Dream Team genuinely shocked me. Now, I will be honest, I was already pretty excited and hyped for Sonic Dream Team, but I was actually quite shocked even playing it. I was like, wow, this is actually even better than I thought. And I was already pretty excited for it, but it still wasn't how I expected it to be. It's actually almost entirely different than how I expected the game to feel and play in the flow, despite being excited for it. Now, right off the bat with Sonic Dream Team, I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is just, like I said, the way the game feels. I kind of think it controls like Sonic Frontiers, but not as like smooth in terms of the amount of control you have. When you're turning left and right, especially while boosting, you do have a little bit of tankiness similarly to like Sonic Generations, but a lot looser than that. You can definitely move left and right, but it isn't going to be like a full circle spinning your analog stick like Sonic Frontiers. But that's something that Sega Hardlight did mostly land, is the controls being good. Other than the actual stick movement, the homing attack and the boost are something we need to talk about. I think Sonic Dream Team has the craziest homing attack in all of Sonic games. The range is insane that it almost feels a little broken. There's been times where I've fallen past a rail and I've spammed the homing attack button and it shot me back up or shot me to the rail in front of me that was higher up, and I landed back on the rail despite being under in the air. It's definitely one of the most broken homing attacks known to man. But it can be finicky at times, I can't lie, and I think the controls overall have a little bit of jank to them. Sometimes things don't really work that well. And I did try the game with touchscreen controls, but I mainly played with a backbone controller, which is an attachment that goes on the back of your phone and connects via the USB-C, or if you're on an older iPhone, the lightning cable slot. And this is not an advertisement. Gaming on backbone is something that I genuinely love doing. I was not a big fan of mobile games, but I realized in the last few years, mobile gaming has really taken a step up, and there's some genuine games that I wanted to play, so I copped the backbone, and it made Sonic Dream Team's experience a lot better using a controller. Otherwise, you can just connect a simple old controller to Sonic Dream Team and connect it to a monitor if you'd like. I've tried it that way as well. But I have to say, using the touchscreen controls did not feel great at all. It could be that I was just too used to the controller, but I could not genuinely see how I would be able to pull off the same stuff as quick as I did on touchscreen. This game genuinely feels like it was made for the controller to be used, even though you can use a touchscreen. But also because of the touchscreen, I think the controls are less intuitive. In this game, you can only homing attack and boost. There's no stomp or drop dash or roll. This is a 2-button game. So yeah, it basically does the Sonic Adventure 2 thing where everything is pretty much on one button in Sonic Adventure 2, which is the action button, outside of jumping, of course. But in this game, Sonic's kit is pretty interesting. Like I said, he has a homing attack, a boost, and then each character type has their own special ability. Sonic and Amy have an air dash, which is actually kind of cool. I really like the air dash in Sonic Colors, and it kind of feels like they took that and put that here and gave that to Sonic instead of a double jump. And air dash is cooler than a double jump, for sure. And Tails, Knuckles, Cream, and Rouge are all pretty self-explanatory. Their double jump button is just a fly or glide. The best feeling characters were definitely Sonic and Amy, as they're the exact same. Then I'd have to say Rouge and Knuckle. But the worst thing in this game, if I'm being honest, is Tails and Cream. Their flight is really slow and it kills all momentum you gain. And like I said, it's just slow. The level design's built around it, but I really feel like it should have been way faster than how it works. It really just feels like it kills your speed entirely, and I've never felt that before with Tails in any of these games. Even in Frontiers, Tails' startup animation is way quicker than actually flying in this game. It's really the most disappointing thing, but at least the level design is made in accommodation to his speed, and it's not something like a value mishap where they completely messed up Tails' flight values or something. That's just how it is, and the level design is built around it. So they play tested that and thought, Tails moving this slow and not having any momentum from your movement is fine. No, I don't think that's fine. I don't think it should have been that way. It should be faster. But speaking of momentum, this game does have momentum. Now, it's not a lot, and honestly, this is going to be a weird comparison, but I have to compare the momentum gaining in this game like Sonic Riders. So in Sonic Riders, when you jump off of a ramp in that game, depending on what you do, you fly higher. Say specifically Rider Zero Gravity. You have to time your jump off the ramp to get the maximum height in zero gravity. This game is kind of the same. I feel like if you jump at the right point off of a ramp, you'll actually go pretty high in the air. Not too high, but you'll fly decently high. This game has it, but it's not crazy. I think it's probably about like half of Sonic Adventure 2's momentum. It's certainly not overtuned. It's very modest momentum in this game in order to accommodate, I guess, for touchscreen controls and better platforming. But it's definitely there, and it does kick in during certain moments, like going off of a half pipe that launches you in the air like you're a skateboarder. It definitely kicks in there. Or jumping off of a rail, which they actually have shortcuts for you in the game if you use the rail momentum to actually reach like a dash ring in the air to push you to another rail or a platform. But all of those things combined, except Tails, makes for an amazing flow state through the level design. I think the first world doesn't do the greatest showcasing of all the kinds of things you can pull off, but I think worlds 2 and onwards have really great level design, and you can really have a sense of flow state chaining these actions together. It's a really weird feeling to describe in Dream Team because yeah, other Sonic games are like that, but this one's so different. It feels like there really is a sense of keeping your speed almost the entire way through if you're good at the game. If you're not good, you probably will run out of boost because the boost gauge in this game runs out pretty quick. And honestly, I've seen some people complain about that, but when I actually played through it myself, I was able to keep my boost gauge almost entirely through the levels through just being good at the game, I guess. Homing attacking the enemies and doing the air dash to like land quicker, or getting those little energy orb things to keep your boost going is something that's really vital if you want to keep going fast. Kind of like Sonic Unleashed, you need to maintain your speed if you want to go fast. Now there's no rankings or anything like that to encourage you to do that, except for the time gate trials, which we'll talk about all the different things you can do in this game in a minute. But stuff like that, I think, is the main reason you'd want to go fast. So what are you actually doing in Sonic Dream Team outside of running to the end of the goal? Well, there's several missions in this game, and honestly, they repeat themselves throughout the entire game. There's collecting the shards, get to the goal ring, get to the checkpoint, and harder versions to get to the checkpoint, and beating the level under a certain amount of time, as well as collecting the Dream Orb. They do change up slightly with the level design. Some levels I think are specific for characters and built for the character, which does make it more fun. My least favorite may be the shard collecting. Sometimes I feel like it was a little out of the way and it was a little annoying to get through, but otherwise it was pretty fun overall, especially when one of them changed it up a bit with having Sonic in a skate park, or basically that's what it was. I think they could have had more unique missions added into this and it would have been a lot better, but overall they did a good job keeping it more engaging, just having different level designs for the same kinds of missions. And of course having new specific challenges for characters like Knuckles having to climb through lasers, or Tails flying through rings, even though all the Tails and Cream ones were terrible. But yeah, they decided to stick with the format and just make dedicated level design and focus on that. which is fine, but I do think the Mario 64 feeling of this game would feel a lot more like that if they had more unique missions. And I think another reason they should have had more unique missions is because this is a really short game. I basically beat this in almost under 2 hours, and I got most of the dream orbs in the game. I didn't really rush through it. I actually took my time to get everything. I was just honestly really good at the game and getting through the levels and even getting red rings on my first go. I think if you're going to be good at the game, it's probably not going to take you long to beat this at all. I think my literal finished playtime is 2 hours and 13 minutes. This game is probably about like an hour and a half shorter than Sonic Generation. So for that reason alone, there probably should have been more unique stuff. Now, I will say this, them reusing the levels for a lot of the missions does seem like it would get kind of old. But there's a lot of parts of these levels that you will not interact or really see like that unless you're doing a certain mission. So it actually feels fresh, and I wouldn't even remember a lot of level design going back into these levels sometimes. Not because it was unforgettable, it's because these levels are so huge and they're made for multiple reasons. So I think after replaying several missions on the same level or act, you start to remember it a little bit. One could say it gets a little bit grindy, but I feel like it doesn't last long enough for it to really become a grind per se. But if you do just get the minimum amount of orbs to continue through the game, you're likely not going to get to the end of the game without going back and getting more. So in that sense, it's a little grindy. But like I said on my first try, I was getting red rings a lot. So I'd get dream orbs for that, and I'd do a couple missions, and I was just basically doing enough to where I didn't really have to backtrack that much. Maybe towards the middle of the game a little bit I had to, but other than that, I was kind of smooth sailing. But it all depends on how much you're doing and how fast you're doing it. So this gameplay is just really solid, and this is something I'd really like to see Sonic explore further in a console game. I think that's where some of the missed potential of this game could actually be fully fleshed out in a full-on console game with this style. This isn't like Frontiers, this isn't really like anything before. It's Sonic with mission-based levels and a kind of huge open level, but not necessarily open world. I really like this structure. It's really fun, and it's something, like I said, I can see being fleshed out on, especially like adding a hub world or anything like that, which was actually planned for this game apparently. Sonic Dream Team is a really fun play, and I think Sega Hardlight kind of knocked it out the park. And I honestly do think they could give Sonic Team a run for their money if they had a full production on a full-fledged game. They've shown us what they can do, and I'm pretty excited for the future of Sega Hardlight, especially when they add more content to Dream Team. Now, outside of the gameplay, this game had a story, and I won't dive too much into it because it really isn't that deep of a story. But basically, Eggman found a device that allows his dreams to become a reality, and it's not fully finished, of course, and he was using a new character that goes by Arium, and of course Sonic and his friends come by and help and stop Eggman and go inside his dreams and save Arium and save Cream, who was also trapped inside of the dream. And that's pretty much about it. It's not really that deep of a story at all. Not really a lot of character moments. A lot of it's told through almost Sonic and the Black Knight cutscenes, but it was decent. It served a purpose. There wasn't really a lot of flavor text or anything cool like that. It was just a nice little context to give the game. But something I did enjoy is the character animation in this game, when you do get to see it, is quite good. I think this is the best character animation we have seen in a long time for Sonic. He's very expressive in the way his quills move when he runs, and everything just looks great when it comes to that. And graphically, it's not the greatest because it's a phone game, and I feel like the lighting is a little baked, I guess. I don't know. It's really strange to but it just looks like a lighting of a mobile game, and it's a little plasticky looking. I think I'm not really the biggest fan of that, and I've seen better on mobile, so I don't really know what happened there, but if this was a full game, it probably wouldn't look like that and would be on Hedgehog Engine 2. And I have to be honest, I wasn't really the biggest fan of the soundtrack. I can't really remember a single song, even after going back and playing through it. I know the Deus Ex, I believe, producer for the music in that franchise is the one who worked on this. And not to discredit their work, but I really wasn't feeling it like that. Maybe the final boss theme is the most memorable one to me. And speaking of the final boss, that was basically Sonic Heroes without any super form. And I thought it was pretty cool though. And a nitpick for the sound of the game, the sound design is very strange. They're definitely using some Sonic Dash sound effects, and a lot of it sounds a little low quality. I don't really understand what happened with the sound design here in this game. It is a little off. A lot of it feels like placeholder sounds or 2012 mobile game sound design. I don't know why it still sounds like that. It's 2023. I mean, I can play Resident Evil Village on my phone and that game looks like it's running on a PC almost. But yeah, those are my main nitpicks with the game. I think overall this is a great game, especially for a mobile game. Sega Hardlight is proving themselves, and I hope to see more like this. And I don't really think this is entirely worth buying a new phone for. Maybe a cheap Apple TV that can run the game if you're really that desperate to play it. And yeah, I'd still think this is probably one of the best 3D Sonic games though that you probably can't play. And I say probably because there's a lot of people that don't have iPhones. So Sega Hardlight, keep cooking. For a mobile game, I think I'd have to give this like an 8 out of 10. This is pretty crazy, and I've already played some mobile games that are quite good on Apple Arcade. For example, like Fantasian, which is created by the original creator of Final Fantasy. That game is great. That's a full-fledged RPG that's like 50-60 hours long. So I've already played stuff of pretty high quality caliber, and this is pretty good as well. So again, shout out to Sega Hardlight. I think you guys cooked, and I enjoyed the game. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And like always, I'll see you in the next one.
Well, whatever happens, happens.